What's up, boys and girls? Another exciting video here today. We got my 2018 RXPX and we are going to be doing a stainless wear ring installation. I just received this in the mail, and to say the very least, this is one expensive little piece of steel. I wondered if I went to the local machine shop if I could actually get this made up for a fraction of the cost, but anyway, it's here. It is what it is. Here's what we have for numbers. It wants to be installed this way. My wear ring is slightly worn, so I just want to do this. I do a lot of saltwater driving, and around here our ocean has a lot of vegetation floating on the surface most times. So you do end up sucking up a small amount of debris most times you go riding. So on the lake, on a flat surface, we used to hit 74, 75 miles an hour. Before I tuned it, we were down to 71. With the tune, I had it back up to 74, revving it higher, but I'm hoping once I install this that I might see a little bit more top speed. So first things first is we got to take this cover off. Then we're gonna go in the house and find the key, lift the IBR like I showed you how to do in the earlier videos, but we'll show you again how to do it. And basically we want to get all this gear tore apart back here and get into this jet drive and get into where the wear ring is in that pump. So this first little cover is just Torx bolts or screws, fasteners, whatever you want to call them. T30. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of those. I already cracked them with the wrench just to make sure the gun's not banging. So we're just going to pop this right off here right now. Parts and pieces flying everywhere, just the way we like it. So there's that. Pretty straightforward, right? I see these have some silicone on them, so I'm guessing these go right through. Yes, they do, right through the hull. So when we put this back together, we're going to use some silicone. So like I say, the next step is to get the key and lower this IBR so we can get in the top and get it at the gear to remove it. So your next step, guys, is to go in the IBR override. And to do that, you hold the brake on, hit your start button, and it'll say entering IBR override. Then you hit the set button over here, and then you just keep hitting your trim button up, holding the brake. As soon as you let off the brake, it stays where you set it at. So as you'll see, we now have the IBR up. So now we're gonna dig into these parts and bolts. We've got a 10 mil here. Looks like a couple 14 or 15 mil bolts there. And there's a 13 up on the side here that looks a little tricky to get at. I'm not sure. Maybe I gotta put the IBR the other way to get at that, but we'll figure it out. So this one here is for the steering. And yeah, like I say, we'll figure out what the trick is to this side bolt here when I get to it. Alright, so our steering bolt's off. I've got these 4 bolts out. Now I gotta lower the IBR, get at this one, and there's, I believe, a couple fasteners up on the top side of this thing. So we'll get that done. Alright, so I just got to bring a few things to your guys' attention as you go through the steps here. We got 2 13 mil nuts up top. I unhooked it right off the bat. It really doesn't matter, but this all kind of floats once you take these top 2 out after these 4. But what you really need to focus on is you need to get the IBR down as far as it will possibly let itself go. And it took me like 2-3 key cycles, because your socket has to go through a hole that's cut into this in order to access this bolt for the IBR. And it was a little bit stiff, so Obviously, ocean riding, you're going to have corrosion on this stuff, even though it's supposed to be stainless. So when we put it back together, we're definitely going to use some grease and lubrication. And then if we ever going to take it apart again, it won't come apart so hard. But I'll get this IBR off, and then we'll just about be at the jet pump. So here we go. And with that, boys and girls, the IBR is off. This piece at the back of your jet drive also comes off with it. Pay mind that there is 2 little rubber seals there. As you can see, mine is not in the best of condition, so this will be something to pay mind to when you take yours apart. So we'll probably get a piece of emery cloth or something, try to shine this up here a little bit. And in here, look at all the salt and corrosion. And here we now just have the jet pump left, which is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and that sucker should pull out of there. Nothing to it. Wear ring doesn't look horrible. Prop's got a couple little chips into it, but could be worse. Now, we get all our bolts out, but these things tend to kind of stick in here, so you just gotta kind of grab it and wiggle it around, because it usually sticks in the drive shaft a bit. There she comes. Of course, that piece had to fall out. So, what do we got here? I don't know why, but everybody that takes these apart, their gasket is messed up from factory. I don't know why. Can't tell you, but they just are. I want you guys, if you're still watching, to check out Beowulf. I am Beowulf on YouTube. I've watched a few of his videos, and a lot of you are probably saying, oh, well, you got it this far, how comes you didn't buy the soulless prop to put in there as well and, you know, gain your top speed or whatever. There's so many horror stories online with the soulless props that I'm honestly scared to do it. And if you guys watch Beowulf's video, he installed a stainless wear ring, a soulless prop, and it exploded and blew a hole right through his hull here in 2 places. And he went through quite an ordeal to get it fixed, so I don't want to be that guy. Now, that being said, look at all the salt in here. Wow, look at it. So anyway, this gasket you're supposed to replace when you do this job. I think I'm just going to cheat and use a little silicone there. It doesn't look that bad. It is torn a little, but I think it'll be fine. So anyway, we got her out. Now, we can visually see that we've got some chewing and some wear. Not a lot. It's not bad, but there is some there. And I believe this is a locking thing. We got to take that out because there's a hole here in the wear ring where it comes through. So we'll back that out, and then we're going to either split this thing, or I might get lucky and be able to shove it out, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to end up splitting it. So we'll show you how I do it. So I wasn't able to make up a jig to press my wear ring out, so I just bit the bullet and drove up to Go Power Sports. Brought my pump up. As you can see, the new ring is pressed in. I just want to say I went through the hassle of taking the machine apart. I didn't waste their shop time bringing it up here and tying their time up, but they have a minimal service charge of $115. $115 is a lot of money to press a ring in and out of a pump that somebody already took off. So I don't know, I don't like to bash. These guys did get me in quick and got me out quick. I was here maybe half an hour and whatever, so that part of the service is good. But BRP, if you guys are trying to promote this Seadoo stuff, you need to make it somewhat affordable. You can't be roping people big money. Like shop materials, $25. There's no shop materials even involved in this job. Honestly, a fair price on a little job like that, if you bring your pump in, should be like 40-50 bucks, right? Not 120 almost. You can buy a new wearing, I think, from them for $99.99, so they charge more to press it in and out than what the part costs. My stainless one was more than that, but anyway, now we got a half-hour drive home, put the machine back together. All right, we are back in the yard. As you can see, the new ring's installed. Doesn't seem to be any rubbing, so that's good. So we're going to thread our little boot guard back in here. Just like so. And then this little fella, this guy locks in here like so. There's a groove here and a groove here for it, so it just slips in there quite easily. Alright, so now we're going to get some lube out, lube these bolts up, clean the corrosion off, and we're going to stick the pump back on. Alright guys, the pump is bolted back in. Let's just go over a few things. Make sure you put your stainless washers behind your nuts when you put it back together. And this thing here is just going to be an aggravation and try to fall out on you, but anyway, just make sure that stays in place when you go to do the next step. And the next step is going to be to set this IBR back on. And in the process, we've got to set this back on in front of it. This piece goes next. But this piece goes inside, and this all bolts together as one unit. So it's going to be maybe a little tricky to get this next piece in and done and lined up. But so far so good, not too complicated. So very first thing you want to do is hook that IBR lever back up, because when you take it off, that's what your bucket's set for. So your access hole is right there with your socket and wrench. You can't get much of a turn, but it's not that bad. At least they made an access hole and thought about the person doing the job. So next we are going to get these 6 bolts in, and the 2 nuts up top, and we're getting pretty close to done here, guys. Alright, so I started by just putting these 2 top bolts in finger tight and wiggled up top, made sure my plastic piece didn't come out of place, and made sure that that this all seated together tightly. You can feel the seam in behind there with your finger. So that all went good. 2 top nuts with the washers. These 2 top bolts are in the steering. Now we got to raise the IBR. Sorry, the IBR is hooked up, the steering is not. We got to raise the IBR, hook the steering up, put our bottom bolts in, and we're ready to put the guard back on. Again, so the IBR, you hold the brake, hit your start button, press the set button, and then you use your up and down arrows if you want it to go up or down. So as you can see now, I have it moved out of my way. I can get these bottom 2 bolts in no trouble, and there's my steering rod right here. Easy peasy. Well, that's that, guys, the stainless steel wearing installation. There's the marine grade silicone that I used around my holes. Now, a lot of you guys won't like this, but the gasket that came with this Riva exhaust, look, it's squished all out. And, you know, you could say I over torqued these bolts, but you don't want this gear leaking when you're on the ocean, so obviously you tighten it up. But anyway, it squished this gasket out, and I had to silicone this seam because I was worried it was going to start leaking on me. So you guys buying a Riva exhaust, just keep that in mind. So that's it, guys. New wear rings installed, and she's ready for the lake. She's all back together. Can't wait to try her out. The old ring had some pretty bad chips in it. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe, guys.